The CISSP exam is changing on May 1st, 2021. Are you ready? Hi, I'm Mike Chapple, and I'm a cybersecurity certification expert and author of the official Cissp study guide. I've been working with this certification for 20 years, and I'm going to fill you in on what's changing with the updated exam. I'll walk you through each one of the 8 domains and help you understand what's new, and then we'll talk about some other emerging topics such as at-home testing. First, let's talk about what's staying the same on the exam. The 8 domains of the Cissp exam aren't changing. The basic structure remains the same. It still covers the same 8 things: security and risk management, asset security, security architecture and engineering, communication and network security, identity and access management, security assessment and testing, security operations, and software development security. What has changed is the weighting of the domains on the exam, but those weightings haven't changed very much. This table gives you a quick look at the details, but the changes are pretty minor. They've just changed a few percentage points here or there. When you're dealing with an exam that's between 100 and 150 questions long, we're just talking about a shift of a few questions between the domains. Nothing that's going to change your study plans. But just because the weightings haven't changed much doesn't mean that the exam itself hasn't changed. As with each of these 3-year revision cycles, ISC² has updated the content on the exam to ensure that it remains relevant to the work of today's cybersecurity professional. They've outlined those changes in a 16-page exam outline that's a tedious read, but I've taken the time to go through it line by line and look for the important changes so that you don't have to. ISC² made a bunch of changes to the numbering and placement of exam objectives, and I'm not going to bore you with those. Instead, I'm going to focus on what's new and important as you prepare for the exam. Let's do that by talking about each one of the 8 domains. Domain 1, Security and Risk Management, remains mostly the same. There's some new material around specific policy requirements, including compliance-related requirements and privacy policy requirements. Also, with the increased emphasis on cloud computing in today's world, the exam now includes a specific objective covering vendor, consultant, and contractor agreements and controls. But otherwise, this domain is pretty much unchanged from the 2018 exam. Domain 2, Asset Security, does cover a lot of new material. There are 2 new objectives here. The first one asks you to provision resources securely. You'll need to understand information and asset ownership, maintaining an inventory of tangible and intangible assets, and managing those assets over time. There's also a new objective on the data lifecycle. You'll need to understand how data is managed from collection through destruction. And there's also quite a bit of new material in Domain 3, Security Architecture and Engineering. And this domain is one of the workhorse domains of the Cissp because it covers a lot of technical material, and the new exam expands on that detail. There's always been an exam objective covering secure design principles, but the 2021 objectives include some detail that you'll need to know. They now include threat modeling, least privilege, defense in depth, secure defaults, fail securely, separation of duties, keep it simple, zero trust, privacy by design, and the shared responsibility model. Now, most of those topics were covered by older exam prep materials, but some topics like zero trust and privacy by design are being added in this year's revision. ISC² also added to the list of technologies that you'll need to understand. On the 2021 exam, you're likely to find new questions covering emerging topics like microservices, containerization, serverless computing, embedded systems, high-performance computing, edge computing, and even quantum computing. The cryptography portions of this domain also have some detail added. In particular, the new objectives describe quite a few attack types that you'll need to understand. These include brute force attacks, attacks with varying level of knowledge, man-in-the-middle attacks, Kerberos exploits, and ransomware, among others. That's definitely an area where you'll want to study up. And that brings up a good point. There's a lot of material covered on the Cissp exam, and you don't need to tackle it alone. I prepared a free study group that will walk you through the exam preparation process using a combination of free and inexpensive books, practice tests, and video courses. Visit my website at CertMike.com and sign up for my free Cissp study group to learn more. And while you're at it, if you're finding this video helpful, please hit the like button below to help other people discover it. Moving back to the domains, Domain 4, Communication and Network Security, remains largely intact, but ISC² has added some detail to the topics that you'll need to understand. It's an alphabet soup of networking acronyms. You're going to need to understand converged protocols such as Fiber Channel over Ethernet, SCSI, and VoIP, and the details of software-defined networks, along with several wireless networking technologies, including Wi-Fi, Li-Fi, Zigbee, satellite communications, and both 4G and 5G cellular networks. When you get to Domain 5, Identity and Access Management, you'll find some new topics added to what you'll need to know about the identity and access provisioning lifecycle. You'll need to understand account access reviews for user, system, and service accounts, the process for assigning people to new roles, and proper techniques for privilege escalation. The new exam also includes details on some authentication technologies that weren't specifically listed in the past. These include OpenID Connect, OAuth, SAML, Kerberos, Radius, and TACACS. Now I've got some good news for you when it comes to Domain 6, Security Assessment and Testing. There's nothing new there. The exam objectives for this domain remain unchanged from 2018. And Domain 7, Security Operations, has mostly minor changes. You'll need to understand some new technologies like threat feeds, user and entity behavior analytics, next-generation firewalls, web application firewalls, and the use of machine learning and artificial intelligence. But the other changes to this domain are mostly cosmetic. The last domain, Software Development Security, does include some new material. You'll need to have a deeper understanding of the security impact of acquired software, including commercial off-the-shelf or COTS software, open source software, and managed services made available through the cloud. The new exam also includes a deeper dive into software development tools, including programming languages, libraries, tool sets, integrated development environments, runtime, CI/CD, and code repositories. Finally, the exam now includes coverage of security orchestration, automation, and response, or SOAR platforms, an important emerging security technology. And that's it. That's a full rundown of the important changes coming to the Cissp exam when it's released on May 1st. Now, a lot of people considering taking the exam ask me the same question. Can I continue to prepare using the older exam materials that I already have? And the answer to that question is yes and no. Yes, you can, particularly if you're not able to get your hands on the newer materials, but you might want to focus on using those materials for the domains that haven't changed very much. If you rely on those resources for domains 1, 3, and 6, you'll be fine. But there's enough new material in the other domains that I would definitely encourage you to update your materials if you're taking the exam after May 1st, 2021. And finally, there's been a lot of buzz in the Cissp community about the availability of online testing. And as you may know, ISC² ran a pilot of at-home testing in February. That's left many people wondering whether the exam is going to move entirely online. And the reality here is that we just don't know yet. ISC² is analyzing the results of that pilot, and they haven't yet committed to whether they're going to offer online testing in the future. We'll just have to wait and see what they decide. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button below and subscribe to my channel for more cybersecurity content. Thanks for watching, and I wish you the very best of luck on the Cissp exam.